Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another video, and today we're going to talk about workplace PTO etiquette. Hey guys, ECRG here, and today we're going to talk about workplace PTO etiquette. So I'm sure you guys have never worked in a real job before or a career job before. You guys may not know what PTO is. PTO stands for paid time off. And if you have worked in a job before, you will know what that means. Now, there are a few types of, there are a few reasons why one might take PTO. You just want to go on a vacation, so you're going to take a PTO to go travel somewhere or just get away from work for a few days. There's where you may have an appointment, so you may need to take a half day off or a full day off, or you have a doctor's appointment or having surgery, or you go take care of something for a quick day, but that's another type of opportunity you might take PTO. And then there's also an emergency. Somebody in the family dies and you gotta go immediately and go deal with that, or someone in your family's in the hospital and you've got to go immediately fly to that place. So there's a few different types of ways you might take PTO, and there's going to be a common courtesy and etiquette surrounding that, especially if you work in clinical trials such as myself, and working on projects that are really, really long and can go on for years at a time. So if you're not in an environment like that, obviously your etiquette is going to be a little bit different, but I still find that you'll find some of these tips helpful. So what you want to do is, if you have an emergency, talk to your boss, talk to your manager about, obviously you're gonna have to negotiate that with them, and that's going to fall more on the company policy and what you work out with your manager on how long you get or when that should happen. That's an emergency. There should be a certain level of understanding and trust between you and your boss. So not really an issue. That's not what this video is really about. If you're going into the hospital for something yourself, kind of like an emergency, but obviously you want to plan ahead as much as possible if you can. If you have an appointment and you have to take PTO, a lot of times you don't have to take PTO if you're just gonna be at the office for an hour or two. You just have to run it by the necessary people, your colleagues, your line manager, whatever. But obviously you want to be out in front of it, and if you know you're gonna have an appointment, try and get your work done ahead of time, or be able to let people know, I'd say a week in advance before that if possible. The earlier the better. You can never go wrong with earlier. But the big one is when you're going on vacation, and every company is going to be different. Everybody's going to have a different policy. Usually companies will have a policy saying you can't take more than so many days at a time, because after you've been with a company so long, they normally reward you with more PTO days, or after a few years they typically give you more PTO days. So people, after you've been with a place for 5, 10, 15 years, you have more PTO than you're actually going to be able to even use. So that's how that affects you. You may have more PTO than the policy states that you can take off at one time, which is fine. But usually in terms of the etiquette, you don't want to inhibit the project that you're on in any way. Obviously, if you are an impactful person, which is what we talk about in these videos, if you are the A person on your team, if you are a leader coming in and doing what you're doing what you need to do, your presence is going to be missed when you're gone. So you want to obviously plan as much as possible. Try and let everybody know as early as possible. Usually it's about 2 weeks before you're going to take your PTO at least. If too many people are taking PTO around the same time, then it's going to be hard for the project to keep going. So that you want to watch out for that, and you don't want to be waiting last minute to take PTO, especially for long durations of time. Usually it's about 2 weeks, at least in the clinical research space, where you can take PTO. You might need special consideration if you're going to be taking longer than that. If you're going to go like to Europe or something and you want like 3 weeks, you're going to have to probably talk to your manager about that. talk to the higher ups about that and get that cleared. But usually if it's during a good time in your studies, it's usually not a problem, or you have somebody to back you up. It's usually not going to be a problem. But you definitely want to take that into consideration at what time in the projects that you're on you're taking PTO. If there's a busy time with a lot of deadlines and stuff, it's usually going to be better for you to wait until after that time is passed to take your PTO. So you just kind of want to, play it by ear. If you're somebody who's always taking PTO when there's a lot of deadlines and everyone's busting their butt, that's not really going to look good on you coming from your manager's perspective. So you definitely want to try and avoid that as much as possible. Obviously, if it's an emergency or something like that, have at it. They should trust you enough to be able to understand that it's an emergency, and life isn't all about work. You have other obligations as well. So not really talking about that, just talking about for pleasure PTO at this point. And you really want to do your best to not take it during very hard times and increase, because your presence is going to be missed already by you leaving. You don't want to have an increased pressure on the team because it's during a busy time during the project, and have that on the team too. But on the flip side of that also, you don't want, because there's always going to be busy times, and if you're on a study or if you're on a project which is busy all the time, don't let that inhibit you from taking PTO. You need your PTO. We've done a video on why you need your PTO, so if you haven't watched that yet, go back and check that out after this video. But PTO is important. You need it. All I'm saying is try and do your best to be conscientious about when you take your PTO, because that's important. People will notice that, hey, this person, they're always there when we need them the most, and that will look good on you. That'll look good for you. And if you're doing a good job and being conscientious about taking your PTO during downtime, that will also look good on you as well. So all right, you've decided on a date, you decided when you want to take your PTO. What do you do next? So usually you're going to have to contact your manager or your boss, let them know when you want to take your PTO. Let's say you're taking your PTO a few months down the line. Perfect. You've given them enough time to be able to plan for it, and yourself enough time to be able to plan for your absence. So perfect. You're going to let them know, and they're going to decide if it's okay or not. Usually it'll be fine. Let's say you're taking a week off. It's usually going to be fine. And then at that point, you're going to let your colleagues know, and you're going to put something on your calendar. And this is good so that you know when your PTO is, and share a notification with all the people that are going to be impacted by you being gone. Because believe it or not, they're not going to know all the intricacies and details of your life, and they may not even remember when it comes time for you to be gone. So it's good for them to have a reminder on their calendars as well. That's just something I like to do, and it worked out really well for me. Also, you're going to have to set up, so about a week before or whenever, the day before you leave, set up a little email response letting people know where they can, why you're gone. So you're going to be gone for the whole week. You want to let people know that, and if they need to follow up on anything, or you can let them know when you'll be back, so when they can expect you to respond yourself. And if they, whoever your backup is, you put their contact information there too. So usually it might be your boss or a colleague or somebody, so you say you can reach out to them if it's an urgent matter. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple to take a PTO. More and more companies are liking people taking PTO, which is a good thing. I'm a big proponent of that. And it's just a simple process. Once you've done it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it and get why it's good to do it in advance. Let people know you're leaving in advance and planning ahead for planning ahead purposes. So that's pretty much it about PTO, guys. If you have any other questions, drop them down below. You can email us at eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. Give any comments. Maybe I missed something on PTO etiquette that you think is important. Please comment that down below. We'd love to hear that. Also looking for people to interview for the show. If you have an interesting story in clinical research, or just want to network or connect, email us at the email address eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com, or anything, any business inquiries, you can email us there as well. All right, guys, take care.